Hello, folks, and welcome back to another edition of the Daily Crypto Byte. Today is Wednesday, November 10th, and the word of the morning today, CJ, seems to be inflation. And when you're traders dealing with provably scarce assets, that's a pretty good thing. And I think the price action's backing that up. We got Bitcoin making new all-time highs, ETH making new all-time highs, plenty of alts rallying as well on the back of that report that inflation was reached a 31-year high in the month of October. But Bitcoin, like I said, provably scarce asset, never will be more than 21 million. And that thesis is being supported today by making new all-time highs on the back of that news. So love to see it. But CJ, I know you got plenty of charts to talk about today. You mentioned it before we started the show. Luckily, we do have a webinar later today at 11:30. So anything we don't get to here this morning, we can cover later today. Before we dive into things, CJ, how are you doing on this lovely Wednesday morning? Oh, you're muted, my friend.
Off to a good start. I love it. So, yeah, interesting stuff. Thought we were going to see a little bit of a pullback last night, but, new all-time high. I think it speaks to the momentum within the trend. I think we're still pretty strong here. Mining stocks were up early to start the day. Ever since they've kind of come down, since Bitcoin has kind of been a little bit tentatively rejected off that 69K level. But overall, I think there's a lot of exciting opportunities, and I'm excited to get in and discuss them today and also in the webinar later. So, how you doing, Monty?
Doing well, CJ. Doing well. I too was expecting maybe a little bit longer period of consolidation for Bitcoin, after the price action we saw yesterday, but wasn't really anticipating this inflation report that we saw this morning. I think that's definitely contributing to the pop in crypto that we're seeing, some increased speculation across the board. But overall, CJ, still all the things we've been talking about the last couple of weeks, the on-chain metrics, accumulation distribution, still pointing north, implying that we are not at the end of this market cycle. We still have some room to go. I'd like to dive into some of those metrics here in a little bit and a bit more extensively in the webinar as well. But you want to open it up with some Bitcoin charts here?
Absolutely. I think these next couple months, I can hardly contain my excitement. I think we're in for some very interesting price action. So, starting here with the 4-hour chart on Bitcoin, something that I do want to begin by highlighting, and something that I was watching for yesterday, was kind of a back test of this 65 to 66K channel. Bitcoin obviously came up, made a new all-time high, then came down and back tested this level, and for the moment has found support. We still have an ascending moving average. We still have the trend collectively going higher. Now, zooming back out to the daily, you can see where this support becomes much more evident. We had that doji candle that many were right to point out and say, I guess that's a little bit of indecision. Maybe we'll pull back a little bit. But the bulls said, no, we're going to buy up at this level here and force price higher up until the 69K level. Still, when you look at this, something that we mentioned yesterday was the bullish cross in the MACD. Still have a lot of upward momentum potential to experience in the MACD before actually getting to an overbought level. And, I think things are looking very bullish for Bitcoin. It looks like we're forming a tentative bull flag, at this current point, and we'll have to keep watching. But overall, I'm still long. I'm looking at getting more long some of the miners here with this sell-off. But overall, I think that there's a lot of interesting stuff going on, and it's time to really pay attention in the Bitcoin market. Another thing that I want to mention has to do with transfer volume. So this goes back to a lot of Glassnode data that we had yesterday, and a lot of interesting stuff that's going with what Monty had discussed in some of that longer macro bullish case and how those indicators are pointing north. One thing that we like to look for is outflows, and what do they mean when interpreting the market cycle. When we see drastic outflows from exchanges like this, typically it is pretty bullish and is followed up by some bullish price action. The opposite would be true if we were seeing inflows. In that case, we're seeing a distribution, like what we saw right here at 65K. We're actually seeing the opposite right now. We're continuing to see outflows from exchanges. In other words, individuals getting more bullish, putting their coins off of exchanges. And that's reflected as well in the percent balance of Bitcoin on exchanges. You can see now, even though we are creating new all-time highs, we still have more and more Bitcoin being sent off of exchanges and being locked up from spot. Also, actually, I'll save this a little bit later. This goes over some of the mining statistics. But overall, I mean, low risk of liquidation at our current points and still seeing outflows from exchanges. So pair that with the bullish technicals, and I think you have a pretty nice picture.
Yeah, absolutely, CJ. And I saw you getting to that hash rate chart from Glassnode. I also found that pretty interesting. I was going to reference in here this morning. I think we should save that for the webinar as well. There's plenty to dive into there. But one thing from Glassnode that I did want to share just quickly, and that has to do with Bitcoin, obviously. And I saw a question in the chat there. Why are we seeing such strong movement in Bitcoin and ETH today, but maybe not so much in all of the altcoins? Some alts are running today, but many others are kind of just sitting stagnant while Bitcoin is coming to new all-time highs. And I think that this chart right here, this HODL wave chart, which essentially just shows you when coins are older than 3 months, that's what these spikes in this orangish color mean. You can see depending on what color it is, that's how old the coins are. And actually, we're at an all-time low for coins younger than 3 months. So that implies that right now, most of the Bitcoin that is dictating this price action is being held by people that have been holding it for longer than 3 months, which in most cases is institutional traders or large whales that began accumulating during that capitulation period in May. Not so much the everyday retail trader that has kind of FOMO'd into this market over the last couple of weeks. Coins younger than 3 months are still at an all-time low, which to me indicates that the retail participant is not yet in this market all the way, especially when it comes to Bitcoin. We are seeing some movement in some alts, but I think right now this market is still being driven by the big players, by the players that have been in this space for a long time, which I think bodes well for end of year price action when that retail does begin to FOMO in as we make continued new all-time highs here. That seems like an inevitability to me. And when you see these sort of metrics implying that right now the price action is entirely being dictated by those that have been in the market for quite a while, implies that there are still plenty of participants to enter this market. So another interesting statistic from Glassnode, but that just I think kind of offers an explanation why Bitcoin and ETH are kind of leading the charge at this point in time.
Yeah, speaking of leading the charge, Litecoin has moved like another 10% since we just started doing this. That was one of the dojis of the day that we had highlighted yesterday, but oh man, tremendous price action. That's a technical breakout play. I think we see a continuation to 360 to that previous resistance level. Obviously, there's probably going to be profit taking in the interim, and we've already had 3 massive bullish engulfing candles. So I do think we'll see bullish continuation. This is not a fundamental long-term play by any means, but I see this as a nice trading opportunity to ride some bullish continuation, potentially pick up some beta on the back of this Bitcoin rally. But one thing that I do want to give a preview of, and then I will pass it back to Monty, is some new features in our platform that we will be having some trouble. There we go. Yeah, so we will have some new features on the platform with our next charting package that we are very excited about. Some of the new improvements include this timer per countdown to each new candle being formed. Also, a variety of new ways to explore and do data analysis. We also added the histogram and a lot of things like that. So just something to stay tuned for there, but thought we'd give you guys a nice little preview of some of the stuff that is coming.
Yeah, definitely. Really excited about that. And we actually fixed a lot of the things that you guys watching this and members of the crypto community have been calling for lots of improvements to the charting package that we are currently using. Very excited about that. Those are just a few of the things, but there's gonna be improvements to indicators. You're gonna be able to add more than 5 indicators at once. You're gonna be able to add multiple of the same indicators, so you can add as many SMAs as you want with different time periods. So definitely a big improvement to our charting package, and we are very, very excited about that. But CJ, there are some pretty interesting technical breakouts occurring today. Like you said, I think Litecoin is one of them. I mean, that thing has just been an absolute monster over the last 72 hours. I know you've been watching that closely, but I think there's some other altcoin plays as well that are worth a look here today. I want to quickly just go over this one. This is one we talked about yesterday, Chainlink. We have this nice cup and handle formation here from Chainlink. We showcased this breakout level yesterday, and I've had people asking me, Monty, is it too late to get in on this move? Did we miss the breakout? I don't think so at all. In fact, this is what I was waiting for. I didn't enter yesterday because, I did see this level here at $35 as the breakout level. And today, I think we're getting confirmation of that. Nice, strong volume here, breaking above this critical level, the brim of the cup. And as you can see here, yesterday we kind of extrapolated these moves. And as you can see, it lines up nicely with the next breakout of the all-time high at about $52. So although we have some resistance in the interim at $44, I'm actually going to go ahead and enter a Chainlink position today. I like what I'm seeing in terms of the volume profile, in terms of the technicals as well. I think we can see some continuation up to this resistance, and then ultimately some continuation to complete this formation and make some new all-time highs for Chainlink. So I just wanted to quickly give an update on this, which was a Doge of the day yesterday.
Thank you for that, Monty. Any Doges of the day that you'd like to start us out with?
Yeah, sure. Like I said, I think there are a few alts that are worth a look today. I think you said it well when you're talking about what we are kind of seeing with Litecoin. That has been a largely technical move. There's no, I wouldn't give a look for a fundamental explanation as to why Litecoin is making that move. I think right now, looking at some of these alts, the technicals are very important. And one that I'm liking today, I'm liking what I'm seeing in terms of the volume, in terms of its um, movement up to some critical levels, is what Caesar mentioned earlier in the chat, and that is HBAR. We've been talking about Hedera for a while now, but Hedera has been kind of lingering in this range over the last few days here, but it looks like today it is starting to see sort of a breakout here. And for HBAR, what's nice here is we have some clearly critical levels. Between here and our all-time high, this is the most critical level, 50 cents for HBAR. And I've been waiting for a bounce off this moving average. We've kind of been lingering around it, consolidating here in this range on relatively low volume. And it seems like over the last 3 days here, as we see ETH make new all-time highs, Bitcoin make new all-time highs, it looks like HBAR is getting ready to run here as well. So, I am going to be watching this one closely here. From a technical perspective, I think looking at the volume profile and then looking at assets that have sort of been kind of been consolidating and have been having this opportunity to be accumulated over the last 3 weeks when we've been sort of entering this manic stage of the market cycle, I think these sort of assets are going to perform tremendously well over the next couple of weeks here. This 20 period smooth moving average for me has been a great indication of support. And, also it kind of tells me whether or not an asset is really overbought or oversold at any given point in time. When you look at an asset like Solana, it's at this point significantly negative or significantly positively diverged from that moving average. But if you look at assets like HBAR or even Atom, which we talked about a few days ago, this thing too has been sort of consolidating around this moving average on diminishing volume. But I think that once we get a confirmation of some increased volume on a bullish engulfing candle, like what we're getting with HBAR here, that would be a confirmation for me to enter an Atom position here. So HBAR looking very strong. I'm going to go ahead and enter a position today with the goal of, perhaps taking profit at this all-time high, and then, perhaps ultimately buying a breakout above this all-time high because historically when we've seen breakouts for HBAR into new all-time highs, it has led to some very positive price action. We saw it here. I think we could potentially see it here in the next couple days to weeks. So I'll be watching HBAR as we're seeing a nice uptick in volume here today.
Thank you, Monty. I do believe the Doge of the day will be put behind a paywall in the future. If you'd like to join marketrebellion.com/try crypto, you can try for just $7 and see if you like it. But with that being said, let's go to another Doge of the day. And, I'm not going to pick one singular asset. I kind of want to just highlight a pattern in a lot of assets that we're seeing. Monty, you had mentioned Link, and I think this fits the criteria of kind of what I want to describe here. So a lot of assets made this large cup from June to September, and there are certain ones that are now printing bullish engulfing candles that are above that trigger level. And typically when you get that, you can take that distance and then extrapolate it from the breakout point. And so I think Link is really nicely postured here from a technical perspective to go and test those previous all-time highs at about $55. So I do expect that to happen as well. And something that is very similar in that idea is VeChain. VeChain looks incredibly similar to Link in that idea that we had the run, we had that cup that got formed all the way from June to September. Now we've actually hit the breakout point in which we've got a bullish engulfing candle beyond that brim of the cup. So ultimately you take that distance right there, you extrapolate it from the breakout point, and it looks like we're going to see a pretty good chance that VeChain makes a new run to previous all-time highs with assets like Link as well. I think that technically these things have really bullish formations right now. But for something a little bit deeper and a little bit lower in market cap, I want to highlight Kin. Kin is bouncing from that 20 smooth moving average, getting a lot of volume that's really been increasing quite linearly over the past few weeks. But you can see that. You can see the same trend of strength in the oscillators as well. And this one isn't quite there yet in terms of taking out the brim of the cup and handle, but it looks pretty well poised for bullish continuation, in my view, even though it's already up 30% today. So some assets to highlight there, but overall, Bitcoin is still looking pretty strong, and the alts are trending with it. Slightly behind, but they are catching up with it.
Yes, they are. And, like we said at the beginning of the show, CJ, I think a lot of that has to do with what we're seeing from the on-chain metrics, what we're seeing from the long-term holders. So I'm really looking forward to doing a deeper dive into those on-chain metrics today during our webinar. As always, guys, if you are not yet a member, you can sign up for our crypto room for just $7 for the first week at marketrebellion.com/try crypto. Like I said, we're going to be doing a member webinar today at 11:30 Central, in which we'll be doing a much deeper dive into all the things we talked about today. Also, we do a Q&A, so you can drop any questions you have. I saw someone asking about Stormex in the chat. We'll definitely hit that today during the webinar. So if you're not yet a member, try it out. Lots to talk about this week. Definitely an exciting close to the month of November here. So we got plenty to talk about today. But as always as well, thank you to Voyager for sponsoring this show. If you guys are looking for a brokerage to trade your crypto, head over to Voyager, where they offer some of the most competitive interest rates in the business, up to 12% on assets like DOT and 9% on assets like USDC. You're definitely going to want to head over there and check them out. And if you do, use code Rebel25 for $25 free in crypto when you sign up. But that's all I got for today. CJ, any parting words for our audience before we sign off here?
Yeah, I just want to say there's a lot of great questions in the chat that I see. I apologize we can't get to those, but we will get to a lot of questions in our webinar at noon today, or 11:30 Central Time, rather. And, I see Chris asks CJ, which miners do you like best? We're going to be doing a deep dive into hash power, miner profitability, and looking at the miners in depth today in today's webinar. So if you want to see that, you can go to marketrebellion.com/try crypto and try the first week for just $7. So we're going to try to hit all those questions and do a deep dive on alts and miners. So thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great day wherever you are in the world.
Take care.